You literally hyperventilate when your smartphone battery hits 10%, but you genuinely believe you could confidently navigate a frozen tundra with a cheap plastic compass. You are an indoor, heavily pampered house pet, aggressively masquerading as a hardened survivalist. Nature isn't a fun weekend hobby or a spiritual retreat. It is a ruthless executioner, patiently waiting for you to make one single wrong move. Let's count the minutes until you become bear food.
Welcome back to the great outdoors, the ultimate biological meat grinder. Last time, we proved Hollywood survival tactics are a VIP ticket to the morgue. But human stubbornness is endless. Following movie logic is the fastest way to permanently turn yourself into a missing persons report. Today, we are dismantling 30 brand new survival myths guaranteed to get you killed. Count how many of these fatal mistakes you actually believed. Are you a survival expert or just another confident casualty? Let's find out. Myth 1. Peeing on a jellyfish sting. Let's start with the most embarrassing beach myth on the planet, peeing on a jellyfish sting. Thanks to a popular sitcom, millions genuinely believe human urine contains magical neutralizing properties. Here is the painful scientific truth. Jellyfish tentacles are covered in thousands of microscopic, venom-filled, spring-loaded harpoons called nematocysts. When stung, many of these harpoons stick to your bare skin without firing. Urine is not a sterile, neutralizing acid. Its chemical makeup is wildly unpredictable and alters the delicate salinity on your skin. Pouring warm urine over the sting actually triggers all those unexploded harpoons to violently fire at once, injecting massive amounts of additional venom into your bloodstream. You aren't curing the pain, you are multiplying it while covering your friend in biological waste. Rinse with hot water or vinegar. Keep your pants zipped. Myth 2. The tick removal disaster. You spot a bloated tick embedded in your leg. Your panicked instinct is to grab it with bare fingers and rip it out, or light a match and try to burn it off. Both reactions are a fantastic, highly efficient way to contract chronic Lyme disease. A tick is essentially a tiny, biological dirty syringe permanently attached to your circulatory system. If you squeeze its soft body or terrorize it with extreme heat, the tick instantly panics. In its dying state, it will violently vomit the heavily contaminated contents of its stomach directly back into your open bloodstream. You are literally forcing it to inject you with a cocktail of severe pathogens. The only medically approved way to handle this parasite is using fine-tipped metal tweezers. Grab the tick as close to your skin as physically possible, right at the head, and pull straight up with steady pressure. Myth 3. Swimming against a rip current. You are swimming in the ocean when you realize you are being terrifyingly pulled out into deep water. Pure panic sets in, and your brain screams at you to actively swim straight back toward the safe sandy beach. You are fighting a deadly rip current, and swimming directly against it is a guaranteed death sentence. A rip current is a massive, incredibly powerful treadmill of rushing water, moving much faster than an Olympic swimmer. If you fight it head-on, you will exhaust every ounce of muscular energy within 5 brutal minutes. Your lungs will burn, and you will drown from pure, agonizing exhaustion. Rip currents are usually narrow, often no wider than 50 feet across. To survive, you must ignore your intense panic and swim parallel to the shoreline. Step horizontally off the invisible treadmill and let the regular ocean waves push you back. Stop fighting the ocean. Myth 4. The deadly cave fire. You are freezing in the mountains as night falls, and you find a small, dry, incredibly cozy-looking cave. You immediately gather dry wood and happily build a roaring campfire deep inside the cavern to stay warm. Congratulations, you have just built yourself a beautiful, ancient stone gas chamber. Caves are absolutely not naturally ventilated chimneys. When you continuously burn wood in an enclosed rock space, the fire rapidly consumes the available oxygen and violently replaces it with massive amounts of invisible, odorless carbon monoxide. You will quietly fall asleep and never wake up. Furthermore, the localized heat causes hidden moisture trapped deep inside the freezing cold rocks directly above you to rapidly expand and boil. This turns the heavy ceiling into a fragmentation grenade, raining razor-sharp shards of solid stone onto your head. Build small fires outside. Myth 5. The Magic Thirst Pebble. This is a legendary, persistent survival trick passed down by confident hikers. If you are completely out of water and slowly dying of extreme thirst, simply put a smooth river pebble into your mouth and suck on it. The flawed logic claims it magically stimulates saliva production. This is an absolute physiological illusion that will kill you significantly faster. Putting a hard rock in your mouth does temporarily trick your brain into releasing saliva, but that moisture isn't magically coming from the dry stone. It is being forcibly pulled from your already severely depleted internal bodily reserves. You are spending your very last, precious drops of internal hydration to wet a piece of useless granite. Worse, in a state of severe dehydration, your throat muscles lose coordination, drastically increasing the risk that you will accidentally inhale it and choke to death. Spit it out. Myth 6. The Raw Wild Sushi Trap. You manage to catch a beautiful, fresh salmon in a pristine Alaskan river. You don't have a fire, so you channel your inner television survival host and eat the meat completely raw, imagining you are dining at a high-end sushi restaurant. You have just initiated a terrifying biological invasion of your own digestive tract. Commercially prepared sushi is legally subjected to intense industrial flash freezing to completely destroy the horrifying parasites hiding inside. That wild fish you just pulled from the river is a thriving ecosystem of broadfish tapeworms and microscopic liver flukes. If you consume it raw, these aggressive parasites will gleefully hatch inside your warm stomach, violently latch onto your intestinal walls, and steal the precious calories you desperately need to survive, causing severe anemia. In the wilderness, raw fish is a biological Trojan horse. Myth 7. The Magnetic Compass Illusion. You packed a brand new survival compass, so you confidently march into the uncharted wilderness, perfectly following the bright red arrow pointing north. 3 days later, search and rescue teams find you wandering 20 miles away from your destination. You fell victim to the invisible mathematical trap of magnetic declination. Your compass absolutely does not point to the true geographic North Pole located at the top of your paper map. It points to the magnetic North Pole, which is currently wandering somewhere in northern Canada. Depending on where you are physically standing, the difference between true north and magnetic north can be massive. If you blindly follow the magnetic arrow without mathematically adjusting your compass bezel for local declination, a seemingly tiny 5-degree error will push you miles off course. You aren't navigating, you are just wandering. Myth 8. Baking a burn wound. This is a bafflingly common piece of folk medicine that needs to be permanently erased from human memory. You suffer a severe, agonizing thermal burn from a campfire, and your friend immediately grabs a stick of butter, cooking lard, or heavy grease to smear over the blistered, screaming skin. You are physically turning your own injury into a hot frying pan. A severe burn massively damages deep layers of tissue, and that traumatized tissue retains intense, burning heat long after the fire is gone. When you heavily coat that extremely hot flesh with thick, insulating animal fat or oil, you completely trap the intense heat inside your body. You are literally continuing to slow roast your own meat, deepening the severe tissue damage and drastically increasing the unbearable agony. Furthermore, butter is full of bacteria that will instantly cause a massive, rotting infection. Myth 9. The Quicksand Tug-of-War. You are hiking through a dense swamp, and your partner suddenly sinks waist-deep into thick, heavy mud or quicksand. Absolute panic ensues. You grab a heavy rope, tie it tightly around their waist, and forcefully recruit 3 strong people to pull them out. You are about to commit a brutal tragedy. Quicksand is incredibly dense, creating a massive, terrifying vacuum seal completely around the victim's submerged legs. The suction force violently holding them down is mathematically immense, often requiring thousands of pounds of upward force to actually break the seal. If you tie a rope around their waist and violently pull, the mud will simply not let go of their legs. Instead, the extreme opposing physical forces will brutally snap their spine in half or cause massive internal organ damage. The victim must slowly lean backward and make tiny leg movements. Myth 10. The heavy coat anchor myth. It is the absolute middle of winter. You are carefully walking across a frozen lake, and the ice suddenly, violently shatters. You plunge into the freezing, dark, heart-stopping water. Your immediate, terrified instinct is to tear off your heavy winter coat and thick boots, genuinely believing the heavy fabric will absorb water and drag you straight to the bottom like an iron anchor. Do not take off your clothes. This myth defies basic physics. The thick insulation, synthetic fibers, and massive amounts of trapped air inside your heavy winter jacket actually create a massive amount of positive buoyancy. For the first 10 to 15 crucial minutes, that bulky coat acts exactly like a surprisingly effective life jacket, keeping your head safely above the freezing water while you struggle to pull yourself back onto the ice. Keep your heavy layers firmly on. 10 myths down. Still feeling like an expert? Did you really plan on fighting an oceanic rip current with your caffeinated desk job muscles? It's a scientific miracle your species made it out of the Stone Age. Take a deep breath. We have 20 more myths to go, and your odds of survival are hovering right around 0. Myth 11. The homemade bow and arrow fantasy. You watched a highly edited video of a guy on the internet build a primitive bow out of a flexible sapling and some shoelaces, so you confidently assume you can easily take down a massive 600-pound elk to feed yourself. Let's shatter your primitive hunter delusions. Crafting a functional bow that actually possesses the heavy kinetic energy required to penetrate thick animal hide and dense bone takes incredible skill, perfectly cured wood, and days of intense physical labor. In a true survival situation, your body is actively starving. You will mathematically burn thousands of precious, irreplaceable calories just trying to carve the heavy wood, fashion the string, and desperately chase the animal through the thick brush. Even if you somehow manage to shoot it, a weak, unbalanced homemade arrow will just bounce off a deer's ribs, leaving you exhausted, starving, and holding a useless, expensive piece of firewood. Stick to trapping tiny rodents. Myth 12. The red and blueberry trap. There is a deeply dangerous, completely fabricated rhyming rule floating around novice hiking groups. White and yellow, kill a fellow. Purple and blue, good for you. This terrible piece of poetic advice is a guaranteed one-way ticket to a brutal, agonizing poisoning. While many safe, edible berries are indeed red or blue, nature does not follow your cute little nursery rhymes. The highly toxic belladonna plant produces beautiful, plump, dark purple berries that look exactly like delicious wild blueberries. Eating just a handful of them will rapidly paralyze your nervous system and aggressively stop your heart. Bright red baneberries look like festive forest candy, but they contain cardiogenic toxins that will drop a grown adult in minutes. Unless you are a highly trained botanist carrying a detailed field guide, treat every single wild berry like a loaded biological weapon. Myth 13. The raw blood hydration myth. You are completely out of water in the sweltering desert, but you manage to catch a jackrabbit. Desperation sets in, and you decide to drink the animal's raw, warm blood to stay hydrated, feeling like a hardcore, unstoppable apex predator. You have just drastically accelerated your own agonizing death. Blood is absolutely not a viable substitute for water. It is incredibly dense, highly concentrated liquid protein and heavy salts. When you drink raw blood, your already dehydrated, struggling kidneys are forced into extreme, panicked overdrive trying to process and filter that massive, sudden spike of heavy protein. To accomplish this, your body must pull even more of your remaining precious water reserves out of your organs. You will violently vomit the blood back up, completely destroying your kidneys and guaranteeing severe, fatal dehydration within hours. You are not a vampire. Put the rabbit down. Myth 14. The boiling bath hypothermia cure. You pull your freezing, severely hypothermic friend out of a frozen winter lake. Their lips are blue and they are violently shivering. Your immediate, panicked instinct is to drag them indoors and plunge their freezing body directly into a steaming, boiling hot bathtub to warm them up as quickly as possible. You are about to accidentally execute your friend. When a human body is suffering from deep hypothermia, the cold, thick blood retreats to the core to protect the vital organs. If you suddenly plunge them into hot water, all their blood vessels instantly and violently dilate. This forces massive amounts of freezing, highly acidic, oxygen-deprived blood from their frozen extremities to rush straight back into their fragile heart all at once. This brutal, sudden temperature shock causes instant, fatal cardiac arrhythmia. You literally shock their heart into stopping. Warm them slowly with dry blankets and body heat. Myth 15. The violent leech removal. You are wading through a dark, muddy swamp, and you look down to see a thick, slimy black leech happily attached to your calf, drinking your blood. Pure panic takes over, and you pinch its slippery body and rip it right off your bare skin. You just guaranteed yourself a horrific, rotting infection. Leeches do not just bite. They drill their complex, three-part, razor-sharp jaws deep under your skin, locking themselves in like tiny biological anchors. If you forcefully tear the heavy body away, you will easily rip the head completely off, leaving the dirty, bacteria-laden jaws permanently embedded deep inside your flesh. The rotting head will quickly fester, causing a severe, highly painful localized infection. To safely remove it, use your fingernail to slowly and firmly scrape completely under the mouth, breaking the suction seal so it falls off intact. Myth 16. The t-shirt water filter. You find a murky, stagnant puddle of dark brown water in the forest. You take off your cotton t-shirt, stretch it over your water bottle, and pour the muddy water through the fabric, proudly watching the clear liquid drip into your container. You honestly believe you just engineered a brilliant survival water filter. You are severely, tragically mistaken. Your dirty, sweaty t-shirt is completely capable of catching large pieces of floating mud, dead leaves, and heavy sand. But the microscopic, terrifying reality is that viruses, bacteria, and aggressive gastrointestinal parasites like Giardia are infinitely smaller than the massive, gaping holes in the woven cotton fabric. You essentially just strained the chunky garbage out of a highly concentrated, invisible biological weapon. Drinking that filtered water will still immediately infect you with severe dysentery, causing explosive, fatal dehydration. You must boil it. Myth 17. The cotton clothing death trap. When planning a heavy, strenuous hike in the wilderness, most people naturally reach for their absolute favorite, most comfortable, heavy cotton t-shirts and thick denim jeans. There is a very old, very dark, and entirely accurate saying in the professional search and rescue community: cotton kills. Cotton fabric is highly hydrophilic, meaning it absorbs water and holds onto it exactly like a massive, heavy sponge. When you sweat during the hot day, your cotton clothes soak up every single drop. The fatal problem begins when the sun goes down and the temperature drops. Cotton completely loses 100% of its insulating properties when it is wet. It physically traps a freezing, wet layer of cold water directly against your skin, sucking the vital heat right out of your core all night long. You will die of severe hypothermia wearing your favorite, comfortable pair of blue jeans. Myth 18. Staring down the wolf pack. You are walking alone in the dark, silent woods, and you suddenly find yourself completely surrounded by a pack of hungry, staring wolves. You remember some terrible advice you read on the internet and decide to stand your ground, puff out your chest, and stare directly into the eyes of the alpha wolf to assert your dominance. This is a spectacular way to legally volunteer as dog food. In the complex, highly aggressive social hierarchy of wild canines, unbroken, direct eye contact is not a polite greeting. It is a violent, uncompromising challenge to fight to the death. By staring directly into their eyes, you are aggressively telling a pack of apex predators that you are actively seeking a physical war. You are significantly slower, weaker, and completely unarmed. Break eye contact immediately, slowly and calmly back away without ever turning your back, and pray they aren't actually hungry. Myth 19. The avalanche spit test. You are skiing in the backcountry, and a massive, terrifying wall of heavy white snow completely buries you alive. You are trapped in total, suffocating darkness. You remember a popular survival trick. Simply spit out of your mouth to let gravity tell you which way is down, so you can confidently dig your way up to the surface. This myth is beautifully poetic and completely, fatally useless. When an avalanche settles, the massive weight and extreme friction instantly compress the soft powder into solid, impenetrable, concrete-like ice. You will be physically encased in a frozen tomb so incredibly tight that your chest will barely be able to expand enough to take a shallow, panicked breath. You will absolutely not have the physical space to move your frozen arms, let alone launch an organized upward excavation project based on where your saliva drips. You have 15 minutes before you suffocate. Pray your friends have shovels. Myth 20. The tree bark calorie feast. You have been lost in the dense forest for 4 days. You are starving. You look at the massive, towering oak trees around you and remember hearing that you can eat tree bark to survive. You take out your knife, hack off a chunk of thick, rough, dark outer bark, and aggressively start chewing on it. You are actively destroying your own digestive tract. The thick, dark outer layer of tree bark is essentially completely dead wood, entirely composed of indigestible, heavily armored cellulose. Your human stomach absolutely does not possess the complex, highly specialized enzymes required to break down solid wood. Eating it will cause severe, agonizing abdominal blockages, violently tearing up your fragile intestines without providing a single, usable calorie of energy. The only edible part of a tree is the microscopic, paper-thin inner cambium layer, and harvesting it requires burning more calories than you will ever get back.
20 myths destroyed, and your imaginary survival skills are looking pathetic. You really thought staring down a wolf pack was a good idea. You are a soft bag of meat reliant on a grocery store, trying to intimidate an apex predator with eye contact. Inspiring, right until you become a forest snack. Let's push to the final 10. I want to see if your fragile ego can survive the rest.
Myth 21. Slapping a freezing person awake. You find your friend lost in the snowy wilderness, heavily suffering from advanced hypothermia. Their eyes are fluttering shut, and they are desperately begging to just go to sleep in the snowbank. Your panicked, cinematic instinct is to slap them across the face to forcefully jolt them awake, screaming at them to stay with you. You are physically assaulting a dying person and rapidly accelerating their demise. Severe hypothermia massively thickens the blood and severely restricts warm circulation to the extremities, turning the fragile skin on their face into freezing, highly brittle tissue. Violently slapping them does absolutely nothing to warm their plummeting core body temperature. It only causes severe, agonizing tissue damage and ruptured blood vessels on their frozen, delicate face. Furthermore, the extreme physical shock of the violent blow can easily trigger a fatal cardiac arrhythmia in their incredibly weakened heart. Wrap them in thick, dry layers, share your own radiant body heat, and let them rest quietly while their core temperature safely stabilizes. Myth 22. The empty cave shelter. You are caught in a massive, terrifying thunderstorm in the deep, uncharted wilderness. You desperately scan the horizon and spot a dark, dry, deeply inviting cave entrance cut perfectly into the side of a mountain. You sprint inside, completely believing you just found the ultimate, secure, naturally built hotel room. You have just blindly walked directly into a heavily occupied, biological nightmare. Caves are absolutely not empty, sterile environments patiently waiting for lost hikers. They are prime, highly contested real estate aggressively claimed by apex predators like bears and mountain lions seeking shelter from the exact same violent storm. Even if you somehow miraculously avoid becoming a late-night snack for a massive carnivore, the dark, damp floor is a thriving, toxic ecosystem completely covered in heavy layers of bat guano, carrying a horrific respiratory disease called histoplasmosis. You are trading a temporary rain shower for a high-probability encounter with aggressive predators and a fatal fungal lung infection. Stay out of the dark holes. Myth 23. The falling elevator jump. This is the absolute favorite thought experiment of every anxious person who steps into a tall building. If the heavy steel cables suddenly snap and the elevator begins plummeting terrifyingly toward the basement, you can simply jump up into the air at the exact last possible second to miraculously cancel out the fatal impact. This is mathematically, physically, and completely absurd. If you are trapped inside a falling metal box, you and the elevator are both hurtling downward at a terminal velocity of roughly 120 miles per hour. Your weak, soft human legs can generate a maximum upward jumping speed of maybe 3 miles per hour. Subtracting 3 from 120 means you are still aggressively slamming into the solid concrete floor at 117 miles per hour. You are not defying the unforgiving laws of physics, you are just choosing to die while striking a slightly more ridiculous mid-air pose. The absolute best way to survive this mathematically impossible nightmare is to lie completely flat on your back to distribute the massive impact force across your entire body. Myth 24. Drinking plant sap for hydration. You are severely dehydrated in the jungle, and you vividly remember a television survival expert chopping a thick green vine in half to drink the pure, refreshing water pouring out. You grab your heavy machete, slash open the nearest thick plant stalk, and eagerly tilt your head back to catch the dripping liquid. You have just initiated a terrifying chemical attack on your own respiratory system. While a tiny, highly specific fraction of vines do contain drinkable water, the vast, overwhelming majority of wild plants bleed a thick, milky, highly toxic sap designed by millions of years of evolution to aggressively murder insects and deter herbivores. Swallowing this unknown white latex will instantly coat your mouth and throat with severe, agonizing chemical burns. It will violently inflame your delicate esophagus, forcefully swelling your airway completely shut within minutes, causing you to rapidly suffocate to death long before you ever die of dehydration. Nature is a heavily armed chemical warfare zone. Myth 25. The edible bug buffet. You have been wandering the deep woods for days without a single bite of food. You flip over a heavy, rotting log and see a massive, writhing colony of plump, bright red and yellow caterpillars and shiny beetles. You figure protein is protein, so you scoop up a handful and force them down your throat. You have just voluntarily ingested a highly concentrated, fatal dose of natural toxins. While it is true that many insects are entirely edible, the brightly colored, fuzzy, or slow-moving bugs are aggressively advertising a deadly evolutionary warning. Vivid reds, yellows, and deep blues in the insect world are nature's giant, flashing neon signs screaming, "I am incredibly toxic, and eating me will destroy your nervous system." Those fuzzy little hairs on a caterpillar are actually tiny, venom-filled hypodermic needles. If you indiscriminately eat wild insects without a PhD in entomology, you will suffer severe stomach cramps, explosive vomiting, and rapid, fatal dehydration. If it looks like a beautiful piece of candy, it will absolutely kill you. Myth 26. Breathing car tire air. You are driving in a brutal blizzard, and your car slides off a steep cliff, becoming completely buried under 10 feet of heavy, compacted snow. As the oxygen inside the freezing cabin rapidly runs out, you remember a brilliant movie hack. Slash the heavy rubber tires and breathe the trapped air. This cinematic strategy is a completely guaranteed, highly efficient way to instantly poison yourself. The air pressurized inside a modern automotive tire is absolutely not clean, breathable oxygen. It is a highly compressed, incredibly toxic, foul-smelling soup of industrial rubber compounds, heavy chemical sealants, and microscopic particulate dust from the inner lining of the tire. If you suck that highly pressurized, toxic gas directly into your fragile lungs, you will instantly suffer severe chemical pneumonia, violently coughing and gagging as the toxic chemicals aggressively strip the lining of your respiratory tract. You will asphyxiate significantly faster while desperately breathing industrial pollution. Myth 27. The fitness survival myth. You hit the gym 6 days a week, you run ultra-marathons, and you can bench press a small car. Therefore, you confidently assume you would easily outlast anyone else in a brutal, life-or-death wilderness survival scenario. This arrogant, muscle-bound mindset is exactly why search and rescue teams frequently recover the frozen, exhausted bodies of elite athletes. True survival has almost absolutely nothing to do with your massive biceps or your peak cardiovascular endurance. In a terrifying, high-stress wilderness emergency, panicked athletes frequently burn through their limited energy reserves incredibly fast by hiking in the wrong direction, frantically trying to outrun the freezing weather. The people who actually survive these brutal ordeals are the calm, patient, mentally resilient individuals who completely stop moving, conserve their precious calories, and immediately build a proper insulated shelter to wait for rescue. Your giant, heavily trained muscles require massive amounts of calories to simply exist. In a starvation scenario, your athletic physique is a massive biological liability. Myth 28. The deadly shortcut. You are hiking back to your car as the sun begins to set, and the official dirt trail is winding heavily back and forth across the steep mountain. You look at your watch, get impatient, and decide to step completely off the marked path, bushwhacking straight down the steep hill to take a brilliant, time-saving shortcut. You have just made the single most common, universally fatal mistake in the entire history of recreational hiking. The absolute moment you step off an established trail in the deep woods, the dense, disorienting terrain completely swallows you. The landscape instantly looks identical in every single direction, destroying your spatial awareness. That brilliant shortcut inevitably leads you directly to the edge of a massive, impassable cliff, a dense ravine, or a freezing, rushing river. By the time you realize your catastrophic mistake, it is pitch black, you are exhausted, and search and rescue teams have absolutely zero idea where to even begin looking for you. Stay on the trail. Myth 29. The tampon water filter. This is a favorite, highly circulated hack among amateur survivalists online. If you need to filter filthy, mud-filled swamp water, simply shove a sterile cotton tampon into the neck of your water bottle and drink the water through it. While this might look clever on an internet video, it is a devastating, biologically fatal illusion. A tightly packed cotton tampon is wonderfully engineered to absorb liquid and filter out large, visible chunks of heavy dirt, sand, and floating debris. However, the microscopic, highly lethal reality is that deadly waterborne pathogens, severe viruses, and aggressive parasites like cryptosporidium are infinitely smaller than the microscopic gaps in the woven cotton fibers. You are perfectly filtering the visible mud, but you are still drinking a completely invisible, highly concentrated, perfectly clear cocktail of deadly, explosive dysentery. You will die of severe, agonizing dehydration just a few hours later, but hey, at least your poison was completely free of large dirt clods. You must boil your water. Myth 30. Following the airplane. You have been hopelessly lost in the deep wilderness for days. Suddenly, you hear the distant, roaring sound of a jet engine. You look up, spot a commercial airplane leaving a white contrail across the blue sky, and you immediately begin hiking in the exact direction the plane is flying, completely convinced it is leading you straight toward a bustling city. This is a spectacular, exhausting way to walk yourself to death. Commercial airplanes cruise at 35,000 feet, and they routinely fly over thousands of miles of absolute, uncompromising, deadly, empty wilderness between major global hubs. That plane you are desperately following might be flying directly from New York to Los Angeles, passing completely over the most brutal, desolate, completely uninhabited mountain ranges and scorching deserts on the continent. By blindly following its path on the ground, you are marching yourself deeper into the absolute middle of nowhere, abandoning any chance of crossing a road or a river. Look down at your map, not up at the sky.
Well, look at you. You actually survived all 30 brutal survival facts. Survival isn't about fighting nature. Nature always wins. It's about fighting your own ignorance. These myths are dangerous because they give you a false sense of security, a magical cheat code that doesn't exist. The wilderness only respects physics. The most dangerous thing in the woods isn't a starving bear, it's a confident idiot who thinks he knows what he's doing. If you made it this far, prove you're smarter than the rest. Drop "I survived" with a fire emoji below to confuse the quitters. Smash subscribe before you wander off a cliff. Stay safe, stay paranoid, and thanks for watching.